this is a big one, and I wanted to make a dedicated video just to this next little topic that kind of pisses me off. Attacking people's military service. Starting to see that more and more in the toy collecting social media space. And I gotta say, I mean, not only is this something that's near and dear to me, and I'm biased about it because, you know, I just retired from 22 years of honorable military service in the United States Army Infantry. Yeah, I did. But, pause for dramatic effect, I don't care if people out there don't like Tony from Analog Toys. I love the guy. I don't care. If you don't like him, don't watch his stuff. But what you shouldn't fucking do is you should never assault someone's military service. Especially if your ass didn't serve. You know, calling people mercenaries.
So this is what it's about. Okay, so I would like to address it since this concerns myself, respectively. I'm apparently one of the recipients of this message. But before I address this quite unreflected content, I would like to point out that I bet that my video, my reaction will be copyright strike. Not because of, oh, I stole some content or something. It's because some people do not want to have the truth out there. Yeah, someone like to keep the facade up. That's why this video will most likely eventually copyright strike. But that's why I also will send this out in private and then release it for the open public, so that Mr. Shat has a chance to have a look at it. First, if you served 22 years in the military, Shat, and I guess you've been on quite a few tours then, Iraq, Afghanistan, you have my utmost respect for that. I would never ever shame or blame someone who goes to a war zone for his country, or king and country if you're British or whatever. That's not the point. Now, regarding your friend Tony, things seem to be a little bit different. And I assume that you are a patron of Analog Toys, so technically you should have all the sources that you need and all the information to make an actually intellectual judgment about this issue. But since you don't seem to be familiar with methods like research and analysis, let me help you out a bit. Now, first of all, I never called Tony Roberts a mercenary or illegal mercenary. Yes, I know he accused me of that in his video he placed under a paywall. Yeah, I Have a Stalker, it was called.
He accuses me of being an illegally employed mercenary.
But that never happened. Let me show you what I actually said. And very important, analyze and then interpret. Listen to what I say and then place your judgment. And basically, a private security contractor, apart from two differences, is the same as a mercenary. First difference would be that a mercenary is basically a freelancer, while the private security contractor has to work for a private security company. And secondly, the occupation of mercenary is forbidden since 1989 due to the Mercenary Convention of the United Nations. Or to be more precise, the activity or the hiring of freelance mercenaries is forbidden. Since in all other regards, private security companies are the same, it's just a few more regulations and a relabeling. Private security companies and contractors are perfectly legal, but bottom line, they are soldiers of fortune, or sell swords, guns for hire. You get the idea. Now, about Tony in specific, well, he claims in his interview with Grindhead Jim, that is on his Patreon, as well on his... oh, by the way, I can't find his so-called autobiography anymore in his playlist. I wonder why that is. See, the problem with Tony's so-called autobiography is he doesn't mention any date, so he keeps everything very vague. I wonder why. After 9/11, he was eager to re-enlist and join the British Army. So I assume that might have been around 2002? Or maybe at the beginning of 2002, since, yeah, as he stated in his video about Diaper Island, and this is not about Diaper Island, is another story. That I totally agree, that guy is dodgy. But this is about Tony now. So, send me, he said. Okay, he joined the military. The second Gulf War or Iraq War began March 2003. And as far as I know, the British were down there as well during phase 1, which was the invasion phase. The invasion lasted about 2 months and then transitioned into the post-invasion phase. So the question is, was Tony Roberts actually in Iraq with the British Army as a regular soldier? And if not Iraq, then maybe Afghanistan? Or Congo from whatever, June to September 2003? And if yes, does he have any kind of general service medal or operational service medal, which you usually get if you serve, do a tour somewhere? As far as I know, as far as I know, you get medals or commendations when you did or when you participated in a tour. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. But as of now, I'm pretty certain that if Tony Roberts was involved in any kind of tour with the British Army, he would have mentioned that specifically and in detail in his autobiography or in his interview with Grindhead Jim. Yeah. From 2002 approximately to 2007,
Send me.
it did not happen, apparently. What did happen though is that Tony Roberts got an offer he could not refuse. And since you won't take my word for it, but maybe Tony's word, just listen to himself.
I walked into a pub one day to have a few beers with some mates, and I was pretty sure I was going to sign on for another 2 years at that point, but I had like another week before I had to make my decision. And I walked into the pub and I bumped into an old sergeant of mine who'd got out of the army 2 years before. Mm-hmm. And he was like, "Hey man, what's going on? What are you up to?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm at about to renew my contract." And he's like, "Why don't you come and work for me in Baghdad? We got a job bodyguarding for a CNN news crew. I could use a good guy like you." And he's like, the timing is like, it's perfect. It's like, I need someone out there in about a month, and if you don't sign on next week, you're free to go. And I was like, "Oh, I'm not sure." And he was like, "We'll pay you $170,000 a year tax free." I went, "Okay, done. I'm in."
Exactly.
At the time, I was earning about probably about $80,000. That's in American dollars.
Right.
I was earning around $80,000. It was like more than double what I was already earning. Plus, I was paying tax on my $80,000. So that's literally, it was a decision made in a like most great decisions I've made in my life. It was in a pub over a beer. You could have been a career soldier, but I look back now and I was like, no, I made the right choice. I went and experienced something completely different doing private security, but that set me up financially.
See? Yeah. And no, this is not out of context. I know what kind of damage control he tried to pull off, trying to pull sunshine out of people's butt. But this is the context. This is not out of context. This is the context. Now, I wouldn't say anything if Mr. Tony Roberts had done regular tours, or at least one regular tour with the British Army serving in Iraq, Afghanistan, whatsoever, and then maybe join a private security contractor. But just staying back in the reserve, getting training, yeah, fine. And then, that's a better offer. Now I jump on that train. Sorry, but that's not good enough. And it shouldn't be good enough for you either, since you mentioned this.
If you start attacking someone's military service, I'll let you in on a little secret. There are more people in the toy collecting space on social media who are veterans than you think. And all you're doing is you're showing your ass.
So I'm pretty sure enough of these veterans you mentioned that also figured out that foul play. On the one hand, want to have the money of a soldier of fortune, but want to have the fame and the glory of someone who served his country. So if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't be mad about me. I would tell him, hey, what are you doing there? Or at least, hey, can I see your commendations from your military service? I mean, hey, listen, if I'm wrong and he was on a tour, got an operational service medal, something which verifies that he actually was in a war zone with the British Army under the British flag for Queen and country, I will formally apologize to Tony Roberts. On YouTube personally, I don't care, I will apologize. But I want to see evidence that this happened.